My name is Lindsay Martin, and I'm here to discuss with you today the importance of mental health in the criminal justice system, and why we should place more importance upon such an item. But what does that have to do with society? Why should we even think about it in the first place? Well, I'll tell you what, it's a lot more prevalent than we actually think it is. According to the National Alliance on Mental Illness, otherwise known as NAMI, 20% of individuals are either experiencing symptoms or have been diagnosed with a mental disorder. While we don't know the severity and that percentage seems rather short, think about it in terms of social interaction. Put yourself in a public place, such as the grocery store. Every fifth person you see is either experiencing or is diagnosed with a mental disorder. And that's terrifying. You don't know the severity, you don't know the type, you don't know if you're in danger. Well, let's put that in terms of the criminal justice system. Criminally insane individuals, especially those that use the insanity plea to escape prison time, are commonly debated today. But why is the insanity plea seen so harshly? Why? Well, let's first define the insanity plea and what that means for the defendant. According to the Cornell University of Law, the actions of the defendant are deemed unacceptable in the eyes of the law and the judge, but they are excused guilt because of their mens rea, or their mental capacity during the time of the crime. But why do these individuals need more importance than they already do? Well, there are three main categories that we will discuss today that need more importance in terms of mental health, and we can do anything and everything we can to do that. Those three categories include public welfare, improvement of research on mental illness, and the improvement of healthcare in mental health facilities specifically. We'll start with the safety and public welfare. According to the American Psychological Association, there are only 4 states that do not use the insanity plea in a court of law. These include Montana, Utah, Kansas, and Idaho. Idaho recently saw this in the case of James Delling, which was outlined in the APA article. He was a diagnosed schizophrenic who attempted to kill his friend because he thought he was trying to ruin his brain. But that would it be better if he rotted in prison? I mean, it sounds like an obvious answer. Obviously not. You wouldn't want someone to either harm someone else in jail or be at more risk of delving deeper into the mental disorder with isolation, or even the possibility of suicide. Yes, there are suicide watches, but in the case of Jeffrey Epstein, it doesn't really prove that effective, you know? Rehabilitation is obviously better, but most people don't think about it like that. When people are proven not guilty by insanity, most people think of the McNaughton trial and how important that is, because the public, according to the Introduction of Criminology by Pamela J. Schmatt and Stephen G. Tibbets, was proven to be so detrimental to the idea of mental health. Because this individual was found criminally insane, people just automatically thought that McNaughton went free, when in actuality, he was sent to a facility, and that's arguably worse. Now, Pacewark, Jeffrey, and Bieber all discussed the validity of the statement. What does it mean to be criminally insane? How do we know if someone is? Is it even a good idea to deem someone criminally insane, even if they're not? Well then, Cornell rebutted this with the 1984 experiment that deemed most individuals don't even have a similar understanding of criminal insanity. How then are we supposed to be the judge, the jury, and executioner if not one individual has the same as the next in terms of a definition of insanity? If we just improved our education of not just the judge and the attorneys, but rather our jurors, our commonplace citizens, we'd have a better idea and even a better outlook on such a plea. It's not as evil and cunning as we think it is. Valero and Borum had this to say about it. These scientists emphasize the idea of the guilt is not present But that does not mean the individual is free from the crime itself. They still have to pay, just somewhere else. They're assessed by a clinical psychologist, a professional, and then sent somewhere to be cured. Now remember, a cure is not really possible for mental illness. It's rather just either coping mechanisms or psychotropic drugs, etc. There are many different ways to help mental illness. Why then do we see this as so negative in the first place? Since the beginning of time, we've seen this as a very bad thing to have. It's always detrimental to have it. It's a bad name for you and your family. When people were placed in mental health facilities, the University of Pennsylvania School of Nursing outlined that such methods were used. Psychosurgery, otherwise known as surgery on different parts of the body to help. Hydrotherapy, water in every crevice and every part of the body. Insulin shock therapy, the injection of insulin into the arm, and even electroconvulsion therapy for a wide range of disorders. And since we've had those medieval orders, we've then progressed to see criminal behavior as fascinating, but also evil. You really think that people choose to be mentally ill? Let me ask you this. Would you choose to have a cold? As a matter of fact, would you choose to have the coronavirus? I don't think so. These individuals, such as antisocial personality disorder, they don't choose to be numb to the world. They don't choose to be impulsive and reckless. That's just what they are. It's what nature dealt them. Now remember, as I said earlier, those medieval methods have now since passed, but it's still not a great facility that we have running, especially even in the state of Arizona, but it's mostly seen in East Coast facilities. People don't care. Why don't people care? These individuals are just like you and me. You would want the best care for your mother, your brother, your significant other. Why then do these people not deserve it? Why do these people get ignored and swept under the rug or sent back to prison? Maybe if we just improved the staff, increased the training, we developed that empathy and that compassion that we have for one another in our familial settings, in our acquaintance settings, these strangers would not be a harm. It's a worthy investment. Now I understand, taxpayer dollars don't necessarily need to be going to this. A lot of people argue that. But let me pose a question. Would you rather be $1 richer and more susceptible to danger every time you walk outside your house because of a mentally insane individual that wasn't cared for? Or would you rather be $1 less rich and know that you're able to walk outside with a little less worry in your head? Now I understand the big trial, the effort put into this, the money, the time, and the moving of these individuals is a lot. But in the end, our safety, the improved research to help these individuals, and the improvement of these facilities help us in the end. Remember, it's not a get out of jail free card. This is for the betterment of society. It's not just for one individual.